in the new Soviet, the comrades line up for the State Politburo sanctioned ration of 1 potato, 2 underwear, 5 milliliter cooking oil, and 5 volumes of Lenin's biography. Hey guys, listen to this. It's Islamic sermons set to jazz. I don't, man. It's Islam. Listen to that. It's jazz Islam. You know what? I quite like jazz Islam. It's quite upbeat. Chase those pigeons. So yesterday in London, Trafalgar Square, there's about 15,000, 20,000 anti-lockdown protesters, and they were there, all stood around, looked quite peaceful. And then the Metropolitan Police, the London Police, came in with truncheons and shields and helmets and riot gear, and quite forcefully removed them all. And there must have been a few arrests. I saw a few people bleeding from head injuries. The Metropolitan Police released a statement saying oh, my phone's ringing, I better get that, 1 sec. I know who is ringing, don't worry. So people got arrested, police got injured, and here's the thing. The general vibe of the anti-lockdown protesters is a vibe of, let's start with the mainstream views. It's dignity. What right does a government have to control my personal freedom from the cradle to the grave? There's the golden rule, I'm not going to hurt others, but apart from that, the government's got to leave me alone. It's that old concept of negative freedom, freedom from external constraint. And that's what they believe. Now, the second and tertiary things as well, they're very much believing that the pandemo is not real. They believe it's all manufactured, or bio this, weapons lab that, and it's all one big, very insidious and very horrible. Hey, hello! I'm in the middle of a video. That's okay, you can appear if you want. Hi. See you soon. So they believe that there's a massive, at its very best, it's just one big corporate conspiracy to make loads of money selling vaccines to a very terrified public. And the same board members and CEOs are on the board of the media, the big media companies, as on the pharmaceutical companies. They all meet many times a year on certain islands in the Caribbean or at ski resorts in Switzerland called Davos. Or they might meet once a year at some big... Anyway, they meet, they're in charge, there's a big club, and you're not in it. I'm going to continue this after the jazz Islam, okay? Just bear with me. Communication, the written word, language, expression is so important, and the words you use and the choices you make in terms of what you place. So this is obviously a big tent here to propagandize and spread the word of Islam, obviously. And I just find it very interesting. You know, in English, the human brain, it kind of negates the negatives. So if I were to walk up to you wearing a t-shirt saying, "I am not your slave," you'll just remember, Charlie, something to do with slavery. Is he a slave? So here you've got the pitch, you've got the sales pitch. Islam, terrorism, suicide bombings, murder, kidnapping. Now, if I had a big tent selling something, say I was selling toothpaste, I wouldn't put the words decay, loss, rotten, disease. So it's just interesting, and when you look at this, what do you guys see? You see the words Islam, terrorism, suicide bombing, murder and kidnapping. I know they're saying we're not, but it just looks like a sales pitch. It's like, what are they trying to convince me of? Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, the 27th of September. Welcome to the Salford coronavirus COVID-19 testing site. There's the staff setting up behind me. I don't anticipate any photon theft complaints today. I've walked past the last couple of days. They all know who I am. They've all seen the YouTube videos. They've made privacy complaints against me, so we're in that kind of Cold War scenario now. There's no direct conflict. We're using proxies. They press the complain button. I carry on doing videos. So this is your first coronavirus update for many weeks now. Nothing happened for a while. The lockdown had the primary effect of slowing down the spread. Now, the public has kind of learned to live with the virus. Very elderly or sick people dying is no surprise to us. That's been happening since the dawn of time. So, because this virus is very strange when compared to the Spanish flu outbreak of 1918 to 1920, this virus has extremely small, very little effect on the young. And by young, I mean babies, toddlers, children, teenagers, people in their 20s, and even slightly older people like me in their 40s. There's very, very little damage that this virus can do. Now, as I said in the last video filming here, of course you're going to get outliers. You're going to get your odd 32-year-old who's had massive lung damage or kidney failure because of some cytokine reaction to this virus, and that's fair enough. There will always be the odd ones out where things happen like that. Now, I'm just going to pause it a moment to gather my thoughts. So as I was saying, this virus, again, it's primarily, it only affects the very old very badly. Now, this isn't to say that, young people can't get hospitalized by it, because young people can get hospitalized for anything. I'll tell you the last time I was in hospital, overnight, under general anesthetic, I had a calcium buildup in one of my salivary glands when I was in my mid-30s, and it swelled up. I looked like a bullfrog in mating season. And when the lady at the hospital put a syringe in to get a biopsy, it kind of squirted out pus and blood, and she freaked out, which made me freak out, and I'm like, I'm too young to die. And she's like, no, look, it's probably not cancer. Yeah, so I had to have my one of my salivary glands removed. So yeah, look, everyone gets affected by crazy stuff. The 1918 Spanish flu pandemic, it affected the very young and the very old in equal measure. As you'd expect, that's kind of makes sense. It's the elderly and the young that suffer the most, and everyone in the middle kind of gets away with it. Now, I just want to say a few things that I've read from the data, and this is mainstream data. Please correct me if I am wrong, okay? I am not a scientist. I don't know how to read peer-reviewed papers. But let me have a go at telling you something. The SARS-CoV-2 pandemic... One sec, I'll pause this. They don't bother me now. We're doing a lot of stopping and starting. Apologies, I'm getting distracted. There's text messages coming in and I lose my train of thought. But the Spanish flu pandemic affected children just as badly as the elderly, and it wiped out loads of babies. It was disgusting. When you look at the stats, the confirmed stats, the amount of babies and toddlers that the Spanish flu killed, it was an absolute tragedy, a real disgusting tragedy. Now, coronavirus, this latest one, SARS-CoV-2, doesn't affect children. It just doesn't. It hasn't. I think, in the last 9 months, 5 kids died after 40 million infected. It doesn't affect kids. So, having read some scientific papers, and again, I try and keep it mainstream, I try and avoid the slightly crazier stuff. So in the mainstream publications, they've done genetic analysis of this latest SARS-CoV-2. And here's the thing. In 2003 in Hong Kong, China, Southeast Asia, there was a SARS pandemic, severe acute respiratory syndrome. Severe and acute respiratory syndrome. That was SARS-1. So when it started, it was very again, not a scientist, the virus wasn't designed to be contracted between human beings. Not very viral, not very infectious. And anyway, as the year progressed, as SARS became more and more used to the human beings, it became a lot more infectious to human beings, and the little nodules where it uses to attach to humans was a lot more pronounced. But they managed to control that one. It wasn't infectious enough, and so it fizzled out. Now, the reason why everyone, including the American administration, the intelligence community, believes that this latest coronavirus was created in the laboratory and released by accident is that its pathogenicity, as in its infectious abilities, are very, very strong. It's as infectious as laughter. You know, you just need to be, it's infecting the whole world. It's hyper infectious. And when the scientists have analyzed the DNA, the latest coronavirus virus is almost identical to the late stage SARS-1 that had, through Darwinian selection, had adapted itself to be very infectious between human beings. Now, this SARS-2, we're told it comes from bats, it comes from pangolins, it comes from meat markets, it comes from Chinese people eating bat soup. These are all the stories we've been told. But what actually probably happened, and again, as I said, the intelligence communities believe this, the American administration believe this, is that at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, they were tinkering with viruses. They were researching them, studying them, analyzing them, seeing how they could prevent future outbreaks. And what happened? Like a lot of things, accidents happen now and again, and it got out. And I think this is the case because even for SARS-1, it's not that long ago, 17 years ago. I was in my late 20s, you know, and you didn't see the lockdowns in China. You didn't see the military pulled in. Did you see those videos from 9 months ago? These massive big cement mixers with like these weird smoky, bloody, what was it, disinfectant smoke? They're blowing out mist, covering the whole city in those chemicals. Proper dystopia. So something's happened, something's happening. As per my last video, I am staying on the fence. I don't think there's any evil big conspiracies here to wipe out humanity. I just think people lose their minds a bit when scary things happen. The desire to save and to protect can warp into control and lock down. So just keep your eyes open. Remember that you are an individual. You didn't ask to be born. You were just placed here. You were ripped from the void and placed into this flesh and blood spacesuit to have an experience here. So you need to listen. You need to have a look around. But don't be scared. Don't go crazy. Don't let them propagandize you all day to the point where you're terrified. And I just want to end on a soft note as well. That, you know, we're learning to live with the virus. And there's lots of elderly people that I see, they walk around without a face mask. I've seen them hugging children. These are strangers. I've seen them walking around. And if you're very elderly and you've only got 5-7 years left, let's say you've only got 2 years left, the government's locking you down, telling you can't go to see your grandkids for Christmas, telling you can't visit your son or daughter who works, whatever, you know. It's very strange. You can see, it's kind of like a deathbed confession. You're going to see a lot of elderly people, a lot of libertarian, freedom-loving, older gentlemen, older ladies, people that survived World War II, survived the Cold War. I very much doubt there's going to be any old people walking around that survived the Spanish flu of 102 years ago, but you never know. No, you do know, there aren't any. So I think we're going to see a lot of elderly people saying thank you to the government, but I'm an individual, I'm sovereign over my own life, and if I want to have a Christmas party, if I want to visit my grandkids, I will. And because I'm on my deathbed confession, what are you going to do? Put me in jail? No. What are you going to do? Fine a 92-year-old? £10,000? Go ahead. Scrape it out of my coffin. So ultimately, life is a balance. Life is a dance. It is a choreographed dance, a beautiful dance from cradle to the grave. And we all cuck a little bit to live in a civilized and safe society. For my kids to be educated, for me to have hospitals to remove that infected gland, for me to travel, get on airplanes, for me to use this amazing smartphone to record and use YouTube, there is a big system, and we all kind of lower our absolute freedom a little bit to live within it. But there is only a limit to how much you can lower it before you're not a human being anymore. So this is your coronavirus update. This is Charlie Veitch on the Charlie Veitch channel, reporting from the amazing brutalist structure behind me that is the Swinton Town Hall extension with the coronavirus testing going on. And it's nice to see on the 5th attempt, 5 times I've been here, I get left alone now. Thanks very much.